All right. Good evening, everyone, and I welcome you to today's live class on HTML and Tailwind CSS. Whether you're a complete beginner or you're looking to level up your front-end skills, this section is for you. My name is Henry Dustin, and today we'll be diving into the powerful combo of HTML for structure and Tailwind CSS for styling, so that you can build and beautiful responsive websites faster. So, and today's class, the host of today's class is Techadom Institute. So I really appreciate them for giving me this privilege to teach their class, online class today. And I really appreciate the admin there, Marvel. So thank you. Thank you. So before we dive in, please remember, if you can do, to subscribe to my channel, because I started this YouTube. Just a few months ago. So if you can subscribe to my channel, and I will really appreciate that. So if you are coming inside to this class, and thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. It's not an easy stuff. So thank you all, guys. Thank you all, guys. So let us dive in on what we have today. So, writing CSS can be really difficult. To be honest, writing CSS can be really difficult, and I get it. It can be frustrating to nail down your own ideas or the design you get from your design team. I'm sure many of you have gone through the same pain at least a few times in your development career. Well, not anymore, because it's time to learn an interesting tools that takes away a lot of burden from us. And is not Bootstrap. It is called Tailwind CSS. Why Tailwind has been around for a while now, you may not have come across it yet. Perhaps you just haven't heard about it, or you don't really know whether learning a new piece of tech related to CSS will really make your life easier. And indeed, there are a lot of writing CSS out there. We have vanilla CSS 3, less SCSS, Bootstrap, styled component, windy CSS, and many more. And there are many more. And I hope this tutorial for today will help you understand Tailwind CSS and its benefits, so that you can say, this is it. This is the one you grab. So enough for this straight talk. So let us dive into the straight thing. So the question you should ask yourself is, what is atomic CSS? Before you jump into Tailwind CSS, let us understand what atomic CSS is according to CSS Trick. Atomic CSS is the approach to CSS architecture that favors small single-purpose classes with names based on visual function. It's kinda like making classes that are supposed to achieve a single purpose. For example, let me give you an example. So, if you're in your VS Code, you can open your VS Code. So this is mine. So let me use this as an example. So I'm going to create a new file. So I'm going to name the file index.html. So once I name the file index.html, then I'm going to create another one and say style.css. So I'm going to create style.css. So in the index, and once you have already created this thing, because I'm trying to show you how atomic CSS actually works, you grab. So ask Copilot, okay. So I'll say HTML5, then I'll now choose this. So now see then I'll now remove this and say just let me say HTML and CSS. That's all. Then I'm not going wow Jesus. So I'm going to link our CSS. So it's going to be something like link.css, then that's it. So we are good to go. So once I've already finished setting this up, so I'll go over to my CSS. So if I go over to my CSS now, what I'm going to type is bg. So when I say bg dash blue, then what I'm going to say is I'll say a background, okay, a background color. So and when I say a background color, I'm going to refer as arubg, arugb. So arubg, I'm going to say 81. So when I say 81, then I'm going to say 191. For those that know CSS, you already understand this method. So I'm going to say 255, something like this. So we are done. So after this, I'm going to save it. Then we now go. Then now we do add the class to a h1 tag. We need to add this class to a h1 tag. It will get the background of blue color, which is, this is a blue color. This is a background of blue color, as you can see. So let us try and build up the HTML file. So the first thing I'm going to say is that I'm going to write this under a div. So under a div, then I'm going to write h1. So under h1, then I'm going to add up a class. So once I add up a class, then I'm going to say bg/blue, something like that. So once I add it, I'll just say hello world, or hello world. So when I say hello world, then I'm going to save this page. And once I save this page, I'll right click and open with live server. I'm going to open it with my live server. So we are still waiting for it to boot. So at least that's open very, very quickly. We are waiting for it. Alright, so this is it now. Now imagine writing such useful single purpose CSS rule and keep them all in a global CSS file. I know it's a non one time investment, but think of this. You can now use a single purpose helper classes from anywhere you want. You just need your HTML file to consume that global CSS file, and that's it. You can now also use combination of these helper classes in a single HTML tags. Let's see, for example, now. Let's see another example now. So if I go back to my VS Code now, then I now go back to my style.css. So I'm going to say something like bg green. So once I say bg green, then I'm going to say a background color. So a background color, then I'm also going to write RGB. So once I write RGB, I'll say something like 81. So once I say 81, then the next one is going to be 255. Then the next one again is going to be 90. So the next thing I'm going to write here is a text on the line. So I'm going to say text on the line. So once I finish writing the text on the line, so now I'm going to say a text decoration. So a text decoration is going to be on the line. Yeah. So the next thing I'm going to write is I'll say text center. So if I say something like text center now, then what I'm going to write here is text align. Yeah, text align. Then I'm going to write center. So dot font weight 400. Yeah, 400, something like that. Then I'm going to write font weight to be 400. Then that's it. So now that we have already written all these things here now, so the next thing we are going to do now is to consume it in our HTML file. So we are going to consume it here. So the next thing we are going to do now is that under this div class, we are going to create another div. So the div will also carry a h1. So, and the h1, I'm going to say the class is let me say text underline. So once I say the text is going to be text underline, the class is going to be text underline. So I'm going to say this one is going to be hello world 1. Then I'm going to say hello world 2. So, and after that, so I'm going to create another div. So when I say div, so I'm going to say a class of text center. So once I say a class of text center, then I'm going to write a h1 class. Then in that h1, in the class, then I will now write something like bg green, font weight of 400, then text on the line. Yeah, thanks. Then I'm now going to write hello world 3. Just hello world 3. Let me just write it like that. So I think the h1 has an issue. Okay, this is the issue here. So I made a mistake in my code. So hello world 3. So we are done now. So let us save up this file so that we are going to see the work. So I'm going to save up this file so that I'm going to see the work. So it's still loading now you can see the result. This is the result of everything we just written here: the hello world 1, the hello world 2, and the hello world 3. So the next place we are going to go into is the points to note here. The points to note here is combining multiple helper classes. So if you look how I combined multiple helper classes in line, this is line 15. So this is how I combined a multiple helper classes. So, and in line 15, in this h1 tag, namely bg background and bg green color, font weight of 400, and a text underline, all of these things, like all of this code here, all of this CSS took work eventually at this place. Like all of them really took work here. I don't know. So all of them really happened here. So as you can see now, this one has a blue color, which is normal h1 tag, and this one has an underlined text. So when I added it here, I added the blue background color, then and I added the underlined text, which also, all of them took effect. So that's how combining multiple helper classes actually works. So reusability of helper classes. Reusability of helper classes, I mean, is that in this above code now that you are seeing here now, I used that text underline here actually in this hello world hello world 2. So, and I now use the same text underline here also in this hello world 3. So that's reusability of helper classes. I already said it here. This is reusability of helper classes. So see now, So see how we are able to add different style without even leaving the HTML page. Well, you might say, hey, we did have to write those helper or utility classes in the global CSS file. What about that? Well, I get it. That's definitely what initial investment we have to make to start with. And of course, we know how many of these single purpose helper or utility classes would have to make if we wanted to follow this atomic CSS architecture, because this is atomic CSS architecture that we just did there. And that's where Tailwind CSS comes in. The concept of atomic CSS is not new, but Tailwind CSS takes it to another level. So let's continue. So the question is, what's Tailwind CSS? You know, Tailwind CSS is a utility first CSS framework. So Tailwind CSS, as per their own website, is a utility first CSS framework which provides several of these opinionated single purpose utility classes that you can use directly inside your markup to design an element. So some of these utility classes that I frequently use these days are I use flex. We use flex. You can use it to apply flex boss to the div. Item centered, to apply CSS property like align item center to the div. Then a rounded full to make an image circular, and so on. So seriously, there are tons of it here. There are tons of utility classes. There are plenty of it that it's not impossible for me to list them all of them here, because there are so many utility classes. But the best part is that we don't have to write these utility classes ourselves like we just did here, because what we did here is that we wrote the utility classes by ourselves. So the best part is that in Tailwind CSS, you don't have to write the utility classes ourselves and keep them in a global CSS file. So this is a global CSS file. We directly get them from Tailwind itself. We directly get them from Tailwind itself. So you can get a list of all the utility classes Tailwind CSS in their documentation. So this is their website. If you go over to their docs, and search for, let me say, a button. So a button or file input, a border button, something like that. They have different types of styling. So if I click on this is going to tell you how it works. Like if you see now, I talked about a rounded full. So you can use rounded full utility to create a pale button. That's how this thing is. A rounded full button class and all this cloud. No rounded full. No rounded. You can use rounded none to remove an existing border radius from an element. So this is the documentation. So for you to get used to all these utility classes, you need to visit their website, and you need to also check up on their documentation. And also, if you are working on VS Code, for those that will be using VS Code, so I don't know for those that will be using Atom or Bracket, but if you're working on VS Code, you need to install an extension. This is an extension. You need to install an extension. I'm waiting for this to load. So you need to install an extension called Tailwind CSS interlicense. The work of this Tailwind CSS interlicense is to give you auto suggestion as you keep typing the utility classics. And we are going to do it. We are going to run an example. That one is not an issue, but it is used to give you auto suggestion. You know what I mean by auto suggestion? So as you keep typing the utility classes. So now let us go into the main part. So the question now is, how can we set up our CSS class now? So how to set up Tailwind CSS? So there are multiple ways you can set up Tailwind CSS in your project, and all of which are mentioned in their documentation. Like I said, if you visit their documentation, so there are multiple ways. So if you go to their documentation now and you now go over to, let me say, okay, so there are multiple ways, and they also listed the multiple ways. You can install it by Tailwind CLI, you can use post CSS, you can use framework guides, for those that will be working on Next.js, Laravel, Vite, Angola. There are plenty of them. Then you can also use Play CDN. So there are a lot of ways. There are multiple ways you can, so there are multiple ways you can set up Tailwind CSS in your project. All of them are mentioned in their documentation. So Tailwind CSS works smoothly, with a plethora of frameworks like Next, React, Angular, and more. Even our OG HTML. So in this course now, in this video now, I'm going to show you how to set up your Tailwind CSS in HTML, and it's very, 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 very easy. So it's very, very easy. So it's not something that is very hard. So let's go over to it. So the first thing is to do now is, first of all, make sure that you have already installed this Tailwind CSS IntelliSense in your extension in your VS Code. So the first thing you need to do is that you first of all, I've already done with this. So in here now, I'm going to create a HTML on the an index.html. So I'm really going to stop the live server here. So I'm going to stop the live server because I'm still going to use it here. So, and the next thing you are going to do is that you are going to say HTML5. Then in the documentation, in the title, then you now say Tailwind CSS. So that's it. So the next thing you are going to do is that if you go to the documentation now, if you go over to tailwindcss.com, their documentation installation, then you now go over to Play CND. So they say that you can use Play CND to try Tailwind right in the browser without any build setup and any build steps. So because Tailwind CLI, using post CSS and frameworks guides, all of them are build setup. So all you need to do is that you should go over there, then you now copy this link. So once you copy this link, so you are going to copy it, then you now go over to your Tailwind your index.html, then you now paste it there. So once you paste it there, then the second thing to do is that for this extension to work, for this Tailwind CSS IntelliSense to work, you need to create a config file. For those that are working on React, you already know what I mean by config file. So you need to create a config file, so which is going to be tailwind.config.js. That's all. So once you create it, you don't need to write anything here, just leave it blank like that. So what we are going to do now is that we are going to try and create this this project hands-on demo. So we are going to try and create these card components in the HTML project. So, and if you notice here, I didn't create CSS here or CSS like I did in this one. So we are done with this one. So I didn't create CSS here. So I'm going to be using only the HTML, so that I'm going to show you how powerful Tailwind CSS can be. So the first thing we are going to create is So the first thing we are going to create is them. I don't know where I can keep this mic, because I'm just looking for a way to position it so that you can all hear my voice. So if you guys can give me a little time, so that I'm going to position this mic so that I can type very well. So I'm looking for something to hold it. So please give me some minutes. All right, hope you can all hear me now. So I've already tried and positioned the mic so that you guys can hear me as we type. So the first thing we are going to do is that we are going to create a div. So once we create a div, then we are now going to write a div of class. So once we create a class, so we are going to write something like relative, just relay tiv. So once you write a relative, I've not saved this, so then let me save it. So once you write a relative, then we now write a w, a weight of 96. So if I say a weight of 96, then I now say margin of 3. Margin, you know what I mean by margin of 3. Then I will now say something like a cursor point. A cursor is going to be pointer. Oh, sorry, my bad. So the cursor is going to be pointer. Then I now say a border of 2. So a border of 2. Then I now also a shadow of LG. Okay. Then a shadow of LG. Then the next thing we are going to write is rounded. If you guys know what I mean by rounded, so a rounded XL. So a rounded XL. Then items. So items is going to be center. So this is it. So and I'll save it. So we need to close this one so that you are not going to be very confusing. So it's not going to be very confusing. So the next thing we are going to do again is that we are going to create another div class. Another div class under this one that we have already created. So we are going to create another one. So we are going to say a div. Then once you come to the div, then we are now going to say a class. So a class. Then we are now going to say a flex height of let me say 28. So if you say a flex height of 28, then we now say a bg of a background of blue. So a background of blue, and it's going to be on 700. So and after that we are going to rounded. I don't know why my Tailwind IntelliSense is not bringing me auto suggestion. It could have been more faster, but let us keep going. So we are now going to write some XL. Then if I say items, items is going to be items center. So everything is going to be on center. Then we are now going to write justify center. Okay. So the next thing we are going to do is that we are going to, under this div, we are going to create a h1 tag. So in this h1 tag we are going to say a class. So in this class we are going to say an app an absolute. So we are going to say an absolute. So once we say an absolute, we are going to say a marks of author. So a marks of author. Then we are now going to say a text should be, the text should be center. So a text should be center, and we are going to write a right text, to be 2xl. Then we are now going to write the text should be in white color. The text should be in white color. So I think this can go here. Then I now write in the h1 tags. Then I now write the image goes here. So after that, I'll save this file. So once I save this file, I'm going to start the I'm going to open the live server, so that to check whether what we are building is really taking an effect. So still waiting for it to load up. Give it some little time because my PC is kind of lagging these days. All right, so see it here. Have you seen it now? This is the power of Tailwind CSS. So if you notice now, we didn't even create a HTML, a CSS global CSS file here. Everything was just in HTML. So we are getting all our utility classes from this link, from the CSS website. We are getting all the utility classes from them. It's them that is providing everything. So we are getting all the utility classes from there, which is super cool. So at least hope you guys understand. So let us continue. So I still don't know why my IntelliSense is not working, because it should have been working. I said tailwind.config.js. I don't know, it's supposed to be working. So I don't know if something is wrong, so I need to check. Okay, it's not this level, it's okay, but without it using, it's still going to work. But let us continue. So another thing we are going to do now is to create so we are going to say under this div we are going to create another div. So under this div we are going to create another div, and the div is going to have a class. So the class is going to be padding of 2. Then we are going to say a border. So once you say a border of b of 2, something like that, so we are done with that. So inside this div we are going to create a h6. So let's create a h6 tag. So I need to, first of all, give me a minute, I need to maybe delete this file. So I'm going to delete the file and recreate it again in this. I'm going to recreate it again because so at least I should give it a little more, but a little time. So we are going to write something like is it le room, something like this. Yeah. So we are going to write something like this. It's just a text, for us to save the time here. It's just a text. So in this, we are not going to style the, you are not going to style the h6. So all you need to do is that we are going to save it. So once we save it, so this is the structure here. So once we save it, we are going over to the Tailwind to the live server to check what we have been building and to see the changes there. So sorry that I'm not good with my English today, so but at least you guys are really learning. So this is it, because we are trying to create something like this. We are trying to create something like this. So at least this is it now, and this is very super cool. So let's continue. So under this div we are going to create another div. So we are going to create another div. So and this div is going to have a class. So the div is going to be something like a flex. I don't know why my IntelliSense is not working. So it's going to be a flex wrap. Then it's going to be items. So items is going to be center, and margin is going to be up to no suggestion. So I don't know why this stuff is not working. So the next thing we are going to do is that once we create it, we are going to create a span. You guys know a span now. So we are going to create a span. So we are going to create the span, and we are going to create the class. So the class is going to be something like a border. So once you say a border blue, then border blue, then we are now going to write 300. Then we are now going to write a rounded -2 XL. Hope I'm not mistaken. Pixel, we are going to write a pixel of 2. So I think this is margin of 1 and max of 1. So I don't know if I'm pronouncing this thing very well. So we are going to write something like this. We are going to write something like this. So it's going to be a React. So, and after that, what we are going to do is that we are going to duplicate this span into. We are going to duplicate it into 3. So we are going to highlight it. So once you highlight it, then you are now going to hold your shift, or your shift key, then your they have already told me something. You are going to hold your shift key with your alt key and down arrow. So 1 and 2. So once we do that, then we are now going to change this one into a redux. So once you say a redux, then we are now going to change this one also into JavaScript. So once we change it into JavaScript, then if we save up the file, we need to go and see what we have been building to see how it is. So okay, it's still loading. So give it some time. So it's still loading. Alright, so we just created this thing, which is equivalent to the one that you saw in this image. So we just created this. So if you notice now, React, Redux, and JavaScript, which has a border, a border of this thing, a blue, which is 300, because if you look closely, it has a blue color. You understand? The outline is a blue color. So is so the next thing we are going to create now is that we are going to try and create this go to project and GitHub. So what we are going to do is that for us to achieve that, we are going to go under this div. So once we go under this div now, then we are now going to say something like div. We are going to create another div. Then the div is going to have a class name. So a class, is going to be a flex. Okay, a flex wrap. So a flex wrap items dash center, then it's going to be a rounded dash b dash xl. So don't be confused of what I'm writing here. At least if you go over to the documentation and also look up all these utility classes that I'll be using here, you notice that they are very easy. These are most of the things that we use them in your HTML and your CSS files. I'm just, these all the code that you want. That's why I say before you learn Tailwind CSS, make sure you have a full understanding of CSS already. Make sure you have an understanding of CSS already before you go over to Tailwind CSS. So after that, then we are now going to write a border. So we are going to write a border of T on 2. Then we are going to write a BG of white. So once we write that, then inside the div we are going to create a button. So once we created a button, then I think the button is going to have class also. So the class is going to be border rounded, something like that. So it's going to be border rounded x then we are now going to write a bg of blue. So a bg of blue, because we are trying to get this go to project. We are trying to create this one first of all. So and once it has a bg of blue, we are going to say that the blue is going to be 600. Then it's going to be at rounded 2xl. Then and after that we are going to say a text. So once you say a text of blue, a text blue 600. Hope I'm right. Oh, I'm not right. I think I made a mistake. Sorry guys. So sorry. So it's going to be I made a mistake. So sorry. So it's going to be a background of 600. Then it's going to be a text of white. So once you say text of white, then you're now going to write a shadow of SM. And then once you write a shadow of XM, then you're now going to write a P of 1 and then PX of 2 and M of 2. M of 2. Then inside this button we are going to write something like go to project. Like, because it's exactly equivalent to what we did here. So at least we are trying to to achieve this one, and after that we are also going to try and achieve this one also. So I'm going to save the file. So once you save it, then under this button we are going to create another button. But before we continue, you need to make sure that the ones that we have already created is actually working, is actually correct. So I'll need to check it. So it's still loading. As you can see it now, it is go to project exactly this. So go to project exactly this, which is very super cool and easy, guys. So we are going to create the GitHub one. So the GitHub is going to have a class name, a class. So remember, I want to say something. When you're writing a code on your HTML, I usually use this word, a class. But once you are writing a Tailwind CSS inside a framework like React, Next.js, Vite, you are going to use something called a class name. So let me say a class name. So this is what they actually use there. So if you go to their documentation now, let me say for example now, if I go over to the framework guides and I say I want to design this thing on Vite or Next.js, but let us go over to Vite. Then this is their setup. This is how to set up your Vite project, your real Vite. And if you notice, what they were using here was a class name. So but in HTML, what they are using here was a class name. It's different, because if you are using class in a framework, it's not going to work. It's not going to apply. But if you are using a class name in a framework, which you actually just saw here, it's still going to work. But the same thing is applicable to another guide. If you go over to your Next.js, then you can also see it. Once you set up everything, then you notice that they are also using a class name, which is just so that's why I say that if you want to go far, if you want to be good at Tailwind CSS, you need to be going through their documentation so that you understand what everything I'm saying. But since we are using HTML, that's why I go by play.cng. And if you go over to play.cng, what we are using is class. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a big difference between two of them. Okay, so have it in mind that when you are creating a HTML class, when you are creating a framework, also you want to use your CSS as a Tailwind CSS as your CSS to beautify your website. Always remember to use the class name, just the word class name. But if you're writing it in your HTML code, so always remember to use the word class. So there is a two huge difference. So let's continue, because there will not be time. So we are going to be using class, and the button is going to be is going to be a border of 2. So once you say border of 2, we are going to write a border of blue, of 600. So and after that we are going to write a rounded excel of 2, something like that. Then the next thing we are going to write again is text dash blue and dash 600, because I think that I'm trying to make the text to be I'm trying to make the text, if you look very well, the text is in blue color, so I'm trying to give it a blue color of 600, so that it's going to be just a plain, a normal blue color text. So, and after that, then the next thing we are going to do is that we are going to add a shadow. So if I say a shadow of SM and a paragraph, I think a paragraph, P means paragraph in Tailwind CSS. Then we now say paragraph of 1. Then you now say px sum of 2. That's pixel px, I think it means pixel in CSS. Then margin, M means margin, in CSS. So M means margin in Tailwind CSS. So margin of 2. Then here we are going to write a GitHub. So once you say a GitHub, so after that we can now save this. So once we save this, we are actually going to allow it to load. So give it time. All right, so this is a very, very, very successful stop. So as you can see now, we also try to create this demo project here live on this YouTube live. And if you notice now, we actually did dissenting. It's almost dissenting. It's not that it's almost dissenting. I think it's actually dissenting here. So if you notice now, there is nothing like CSS. Yeah, I just created only HTML in another this thing, and you can see it here. Just that I don't know why my tailwind.config.js is not actually working, but I need to try and fix it. So I don't know, just give me some time. So I need to disable it, then restart the extension and enable it. Okay, I already enabled it. So let me check why, because if to say I was using Tailwind CSS IntelliSense, which is going to be giving me auto suggestion, I could have this thing could have been more easier, so that I won't make mistakes in spelling. Because one thing I hate in this Tailwind CSS is that once you made a mistake in your spelling, like all your whole code will be scattered, or I don't know what was wrong. So I don't know what was wrong with it. So eventually I'm still going to just give me a time, so that I'm going to restart my VS Code. So I want to restart my VS Code. So just give me some minutes. So just give me some minutes, so that I'm going to restart my VS Code. So I'm going to know exactly where the problem come from. So I'm going to refresh and refresh. So I'm going to open my VS Code again, so that I'll know what's the actual cause of this. Because that Tailwind IntelliSense should have been working. So I'm just trying to tell you the work of that Tailwind IntelliSense. So still waiting for the code to finish. All right. I think we are. Let me check it now. Don't know. Don't know. Okay. All right. So I think that when we are creating, when we are building another one before this class, and I'm going to check whether it's still going to be fixable. But at least we tried and achieved something like this, which is pretty easy and good. I learned this thing by using their documentation. I learned all these things by using their documentation. You know how using utility first foundation. So I learned all those things. And if you notice now, for you to create this cheat chart, just this is only the code that you. I think what they are trying to say now is that if you want to create this thing, you are going to this the CSS here, the style.css. But when you are using, just see the difference. They said using a traditional approach where custom design require custom CSS. So this is a custom CSS for you to achieve this design. So chat the chat notification, they wrote all these things, but they said with Tailwind you style element by applying pre-exit classics directly in your HTML, using utility classes to build custom design without writing CSS. So just check the difference, guys. Just check the difference with this whole code. This thing, I think this thing is going to be something like 30 lines of code or more, but just few lines of code just with Tailwind CSS can achieve this. Few lines of code with Tailwind CSS really achieve this, so which is very awesome. That's what also happened here. So this was also happened here. So what I'm trying to say is that when you're using flex with divs to apply display flex, you grab. When you're using flex with div to apply display flex, CSS root to it. CSS root to it. And you want to add something like position relative, because I added something like that in this code. I added something like relative here. I can't remember where I added that relative, because I can't remember where I added that relative, but I think I used that relative here in this code. I'm sure of it. So for example, now in your CSS now, let me say you want to add something like position. You want to add something like relative. Now you are going to write something like position relative. So we are going to write something like position relative, but in Tailwind CSS, all you need to write is just relative. You grab. All you need to write is just relative. That's what they are trying to say. For example, now let me go back to my style.css. Let me show you what I mean. For example, now let me say if you want to add a position, now you know right here something like this. They said adding a position relative is what you can add in your global.css file, something like that. But when it comes to Tailwind.css, all you need to do is that if you go over to here now, all you need to do is just add the word relative. So thank you, Jesus. So the auto suggestion have already started working now. So this was exactly what I was looking for. So I don't think, okay, relative. So this is it. So as you can see now, the auto suggestion have already started working, which is super cool now. So I don't know what was wrong with it before, but so remember, for you to set up the auto suggestion, you need to write this thing. Just write tailwind.config.js without any writing any code on it. Then you can now also I'm not using this one, so don't save. So you can now also install that Tailwind IntelliSense for it. So at least with this, I know that at least you are able to understand the work of this Tailwind CSS, which is super cool. So let's go over. So we are going again. What is Tailwind CSS? So they say Tailwind CSS is a utility first class framework designed to enable users to create application faster and easier. You can use utility classes to create to control the layout, color, spacing, typography, shadow, and more to create a complete custom component design without leaving your HTML or writing a single line of custom CSS. So that's what they were trying to say here now. So that's like exactly like what they were trying to explain to us here, because when you're using a Tailwind CSS, you are creating your application, your website easier and faster, like we just did in the previous demo ham project, creating that thing easier and faster. So the next thing we are going to go over, before we go over to benefits of CSS, we are going to, now that the IntelliSense is now working, so we are going to delete all this because I'm no more using it, something like that. So we are going to delete all this. So let me say, for example, now if you say a button, then you now write a class. Then once you write a class, then you now write a H. So once you say a H, then you now choose something like that. So this is the auto suggestion I was talking about when once you install that Tailwind IntelliSense. So make sure you don't forget that. So once you say a H of 10, then you're now going to write a PX of 6. I'm going to explain this thing now, so just give me a minute. Then you are going to write something like a font semi bold. Then and another one is going to be a rounded MD. So and the last I think is BG of black. So and text, and if you notice now, I'm not typing that in completely. The auto suggestion is just trying to know exactly what I'm trying to type, and it's super cool, guys. So it's going to be white. Then and after that we are going to say a type of submit. So it's going to be a type of submit. So once we save that, so we are going to check it in this okay, I think that okay, we are going to stop the live server and open the live server again. So we are going to stop the live server and open the live server. It's not going to take much of the time. Sorry that I already keep you guys this long. We are going to create a one more design, then we are closed for today's class. Oh, and I forgot to write something like, I forgot to add something like buy now. Let me just write the word buy now. And I press and I hit the submit button. Oh, sure again. Alright, so once you go over and check your code now, and this is it. At least have you seen the work of Tailwind CSS? So this HTML now, just look over this thing. This HTML contains six utility classes. Let me break each one of them down for you. So this h-10, that's height. That's a height. This class sets the button to fix to a fixed height. Like it sets this button to a fixed height of 10 units. For those that have been in CSS, you already know what I mean. It set the button to a fixed height of 10 units, and this one also is called a padding. It's called a padding. This class sets the horizontal padding of the buttons to 6 units. It sets the horizontal part of the button the horizontal part of the button to 6 units. And this font dot semibold, this class sets, like, the class sets the font weight of the button to semi-bold. The font weight of the button to a semi-bold. That's the work of that font semi-bold. And this BG color, you already know what BG color is. This BG color, this class set the background color of the button to be black, which you are already seeing here. So, and the text or white, this class set the text color of the button to white. So if I say something like set this text color of this button to red, or let me give it a red of 800, something like that, and I'll save it. Just watch the magic. So to tell you how powerful Tailwind CSS is, and if you can see, this is exactly it. So this is exactly it. Sets the color text to any color that you want, whether white, black, all this kind of stuff, all this any color or blue you grab. So as you might have guessed, the learning curve we are using Tailwind CSS primarily consists of familiarizing yourself with its utility classes. What I'm trying to say is that the learning curve is that you need to get your hands in the documentation, so that you are going to get used at all these utility classes. But once you do, you'll be able to quickly and consistently create custom components like button below you grab. So now that we have understand Tailwind CSS frameworks better, let us go over to the benefits. So there are many benefits of using CSS frameworks like Tailwind. So one of the benefits is that you write less code and you write less custom code and custom CSS. You write less custom CSS. With Tailwind, you can style elements by applying pre-existing classes directly into your HTML by using utility classes. So you write less custom code, which we just did there. This is a less custom code. So, and these are utility classes. In a way, you can also build custom design without writing CSS. So that's the huge difference of it. And another one is that you keep your CSS files small. Without framework like Tailwind now, you have to keep writing CSS as add new features and components. As a result, your CSS file continue to grow and get heavier. But by using utility classes like Tailwind, Flexbox, and padding utilities, most styles are reusable. So you really need, you really need to write a new CSS files like we just did in the beginning of the video. So you can, with this benefit of Tailwind CSS, you keep the CSS files small. And another one is that you can make safer changes. Like this thing was in white, I just changed it to red safely. You can make safer changes. So, and what I mean by you can make safer changes is that with the traditional approach, if you make changes in CSS now, in normal CSS, you may break something across your site. For those that are coding with CSS, you already know what I mean. You may break something across your site, unlike CSS. Unlike CSS, but utility classes in your HTML are local. That means you can change them without worrying about breaking something else in your site. Without breaking something else in your site. So another question we're supposed to be asking ourselves is, why doing CSS? Why? So let me explain. Now you might be wondering why use Tailwind CSS over CSS and over other CSS frameworks. You know that they have other CSS frameworks like we have Bootstraps, Materialize. There are many. So Tailwind CSS is a low-level framework, meaning unlike other CSS frameworks like Bootstraps or Materialize, Tailwind doesn't offer fully styled components like button. When you go to something like Bootstrap, you can already see already made components. You can see already made navbar. You can see already made features. You know what I mean once you go over to Bootstraps. But what they are trying to say is that instead it offers utility classes. That's why I like Tailwind. Instead of it to offer you your already made own, it offers you a utility class. It offers you a utility class so that you can create your own reusable components. That's exactly what we did here. And if you go to our previous like we just created this one before. So that's how it offers you a utility class to achieve this. To achieve this, which is super cool and easy. So for that reason, it provides a lot more flexibility and control over what application like CSS than other CSS frameworks. That can enable you to create a more unique site. That can enable you to create a more unique site. So Tailwind CSS examples. So Tailwind CSS examples. Tailwind offers UI components. They offers UI components. So I think if you go over to their I think is this component. So they offers UI components, which is exactly this. So it's loading up, and or they offers UI components or a template. You can call it a template or examples. You grab anyone that you want to call it. So with this UI components, it helps you to start building your application quickly. You understand? It helps you to start building your application quickly. This is a repository. This is a repository created by Tailwind. This is the things that's being created by Tailwind itself. You understand? That includes a landing page. It includes a newsletter. So if I go over to something like templates now, so let me just check, for example. So alright, so this is what I mean. So it includes a landing page. It includes a featured section. It includes newsletter, sign-up form, tables, model windows, checkout form, shopping cart, and more. You can get this code. Like for you to get this code, you can get this code, all of them, most out of all this example, with a one-time package fee. Means that you need to pay is a one-time package fee for you to get all the whole code here. And you can see now some of them are selling their templates of $99 and all this kind of stuff. So if you go over to UI blocks, I think I was talking about the UI blocks. So this is what I was talking about. This is a hero section, features section, CTA section, bento grid, header section, pricing section, newsletter section. So for you to get this template, you need to get full access, which means that you are going to pay a little token you grab. So the last but not the least, we are going to create this Tailwind CSS form. So after creating this Tailwind CSS form, then our class ends for today. So we are going to create a CSS form to enable users to subscribe to their newsletter. You understand? So you can use Tailwind to create an email opt-in form. Like we are going to create here. You can use Tailwind to create an email opt-in form. So let us dive in. So for you to really achieve this, it's going to be super easy. So give me some minutes. So I'm going to set my mic. All right, so we are going to be creating something like this. So this is the last thing we are going to create before today's class ends. So we're already done with this button. So what we are going to do is that we are going to create a div class. Then in the div class, we are going to create a form. So in the form, you just don't need the action, you don't need the actions, because so we are going to create the class. So once you create the class, you are going to say a margin of 4, as this is the power of this auto suggestion is the power of Tailwind IntelliSense. So we are going to be creating margin of 4. Then we are going to be saying a flex. So inside there, we are going to be writing an input. So if we write an input, the input is going to be no, it's not going to be anything. You just have to delete it, think something like that, trying to remember. So you just write class, then we are now writing rounded lug, lug, something like rounded dash l dash lug, which is this one. Then we are now writing a p of 4. So once you write it, then we are now writing something like, I think border, I mean not this border, I think border of t, border of t. Then margin of 0. Then another one is going to be border of b, I think, and then you are now going to write border of L, I think something like that. Okay, no, not border of 1, border of L. Okay, it's the same thing. So text is going to be text gray of 800. We are going to use 800 for example, because I think if you look over here now, I think this thing is a 800, the text. So the text is going to be 800. Then the border, you have border gray of 200, and the BG, that's the BG, is going to be white. So I think we are done with that. So let's save this file. So once we save this file now, the next thing we are going to do again is to create a placeholder. So once you create a placeholder, we are going to say something like your name, your email.com. Then go over here and put this slash. So save this. So for us to see that we are really progressing, because we are trying to create this Tailwind CSS form. So for us to see that we are really progressing on it, so I'll go over it. So I'll now go over it. I think it has load finished. All right. So and it is working. I think I made a mistake. I didn't clear this thing very well, that button. So I didn't really remove all of them. So so I'm going to resave it. So once I resave it, then now check on it again. So it's still loading. So it's still loading. Give it some time. So yeah, this is it. So this is it, this is it, and this is it. So we are progressing. So the next thing we are going to create is this subscribe button. So these are actually how you can able to get that subscribe button, and it's super cool and easy. It's not easy, or don't mind me, but at least for you, if you know the utility classes and how they works, I think this is going to be easier for you. So the next thing we are going to do is that we are going to write a class, then we are going to write a px of 8. So if you don't actually know what this word means, once you hover here, it's going to be telling you this is a padding, and if you go over here, this is a border of T. That's a border top wide. If you go over here, we have border bottom wide, like rounded. This is a border top left radius. These are all these things that we use in our CSS, in our normal custom CSS, you know. So if you notice now, for me to achieve border top radius and left radius of 0.5 rem and border bottom left radius, we just need to write rounded dash L dash LUD, which is very cool. So, and next thing we are going to type is rounded. So you say rounded dot R dot LUG. So when you say rounded dot R dot LUG, we are going to write a BG of yellow. So once you write a BG of yellow, let us choose 400, because I think 400 is that thing. So we now say a text of gray. Let me say text of gray of 800. Then we are now going to say font bold. So when you say font bold, we are now going to add it a padding of 4. Then we now say it's going to be an uppercase. Sorry that you cannot see this thing from here, right here. And is going to be border dash yellow. Is going to be 500. You know, so and I think the last 3 things that we are going to do for us to achieve this thing is going to be we are going to write something like a border T. So if you say something like border T, then we are now going to write a border B, and the last thing we are going to write is a border R. So this is it. So if you go over now and check the name of this border T, it's border top wide, this one is border bottom wide, and this one is all border right wide. So at least the name is not something that is confusing. So let's save it. So if you save it now, then you can go over here and check it out. Give it time to load. Give it time to load. Oh, I didn't complete the code. So sorry guys. So I didn't complete the code. I think I'm supposed to be writing something like a subscribe. I hope this is telling us subscribe. I'll save it. So give it time to load. So let's check it out. As you can see now, so we are able to achieve this Tailwind CSS form, which is super cool, like super cool. We're able to achieve this exactly this thing, this Tailwind CSS form. So to customize the border, background color, text color, and other aspects of this form, you can change the border style, the border color, the border text color, utility classes, and among them. So the pro tips I'm going to tell you is that you can add a number to a border color, the BG color, which is background color, the text color, utility classes, to use the shade of Tailwind default color palette. Well, I'm not going to be talking about that one today because our time is almost up. Our time is almost up. So thank you guys for attending for today's class. For those that stayed for almost 1 hour 19 minutes, I really appreciate like thank you very much. So if you have any question, you can also drop it in the comment section, because after I end this live stream, it's going to automatically post. So then you can drop your question. Then you can, if you want to contact me, you can contact me through my email address, because it's also in my YouTube channel that you can get my email address. And also, if you want to message me on WhatsApp, then it's also in my email. My WhatsApp is at my description. You can find it in my channel there, I think so. So by next week, I'm going to be dropping this tutorial. This is a brand and landing page which I built using Tailwind CSS. So I just built this. So it is a super cool project. So I'm going to be creating the tutorials for this. So by God's grace, the tutorial will be dropping on next week, around next week, but I don't know the particular day. So I'm creating the tutorial videos on it on Tailwind CSS. So please endeavor to like and subscribe to this channel by supporting me, and I really appreciate. So thank you very much for attending today's class, and thanks for Techadom institution that hosted this class, that gave me the opportunity to lecture their students and tell them about Tailwind CSS. I really thank you guys very much. I really thank you guys. I really appreciate this work. So thank you everyone for attending to today's class, and we look forward to hosting a new class. So thank you very much, and also God bless you. Goodbye.